I am done investing, at least in the way that we were making videos on this channel for. I had a couple videos come out where I was investing $5 a day and doing that kinds of thing. I still think that even if just getting started, that is a good way to go about it. Putting $5 a day that the market's open. So Monday through Friday, it's not that much money. It's not a big barrier to entry, and it's not an insane amount of research needed to do. Throw it in the S&P 500 and just ride it out if you're just getting started and want to see what this whole thing's about. But I just can't justify doing that anymore. I feel like I was forcing myself to put money into the S&P 500 instead of where maybe I want to put more money, just simply because I had to for a YouTube video. And instead of doing that, I'm just going to switch up and put money more or less in Bitcoin and just focus more on that. I still have a stock portfolio, still have all that stuff. So it's not like I don't have any stocks and I got rid of everything and it's all in Bitcoin. But I'm going to focus more on Bitcoin. I think there's far more upside, and I like the future of Bitcoin more than the future of the S&P 500, at least in a return sense and in what they can all do. So, we've had a lot of news in Bitcoin, a lot of things going on. Things like this right here, like the iShares BlackRock Bitcoin ETF coming up on the DTCC. It came up, then it got removed, then it got put back on there. Now ARK's ETF is on there too. So you see a lot of the talk about this. You got people like Larry Fink, and which CEO of BlackRock, saying he believes crypto will play a role as a flight to quality. He's been talking about Bitcoin. When he says crypto, he means Bitcoin. He's been talking about it. He's been all over the place, just kind of being super bullish. And when you have all these people lining up, there's hundreds of trillions of dollars that these guys have behind them in their funds and management and customers and clients who want exposure to Bitcoin. And there's just simply not enough Bitcoin to go around. There's like 1.6 million Bitcoin on exchanges. So it's just all of this stuff is just a recipe for the price to go up exponentially, and it's just going to go crazy. And I don't think the S&P 500 can keep up, and I feel like I was forcing myself to do this instead of wanting to do it. So that's why I want to shift off this. This is the Bitcoin price, obviously, for this year, 108% just this year, and it's down like 50% ish from its all-time high still. But I mean, even if you look at the 5 year, 446%. So it's gone crazy. I think Bitcoin is only just getting started still. I think the price can go parabolic. I think there's so much that can go on with Bitcoin. So we're killing this series. I guess you could call it a series. This video of like investing $5 a day and tracking it through that way. And it's going to officially end now. It's been about 4 months, and the S&P not too great. Even if you look, we compare it to Bitcoin, even the 6 month, 22%. And if you go look at the S&P, it's at 3%. And this year 9.4, whereas Bitcoin is obviously we saw 108. So Bitcoin is just the fastest horse in the race. I like Bitcoin fundamentally, the cold storage aspect. I don't keep anything on exchanges. I just think that there's just so much adding up for Bitcoin. There's so much happening that the price, as a market and people paying attention to the price, it could go crazy. Even if it doesn't, I'm comfortable holding Bitcoin for 5, 10, 15, 30, 40 years. I'm not trying to sell this thing tomorrow. I don't think I'm ever going to sell Bitcoin. And it's just time to move on from this series, but we will wrap it up, put a bow on everything, and see what happened to our money in the S&P 500 in the 4 months that we did this whole thing. So here's the sell order. Obviously you can see we did it today. Had almost one share, 0.976517 shares of VOO. And it was done today, 386.59 we sold it at, and had $377 that we got back. I think it was down like $17. I don't have a screenshot of that, but it was down money. It was down 17-ish dollars, $18, somewhere around there. We did get a dividend from them. We have, what is it? It was like $1 something in a dividend that got reinvested. So the S&P treated us, how you'd expect. Nothing insanely special, nothing crazy, no takeoffs, no giant drops. And another reason why I want to move away from this, because like I said, I felt like I was doing this strictly for a YouTube video instead of actually wanting to. And on top of that, I do already hold VTI, and adding a VOO into the portfolio doesn't make a lot of sense. They're basically one and the same. They're extremely similar. Obviously, one's the S&P 500. The other one is like Vanguard's total stock market index for the US. So there's like 3,000 companies in there compared to the 500 in the S&P. But they're extremely similar. They track extremely similar. There's no real reason to have both of them in a portfolio. So there's just multiple reasons to get out of this and get into Bitcoin. Like I said, I think that Bitcoin is just a better investment. I'm willing to hold this thing for decades and never plan on selling it and just see what happens. I think that it's insanely bright future for Bitcoin, and so many things are just coming up with people who have trillions and trillions of dollars starting to kind of be bullish and talk positive about Bitcoin, and everyone's starting to kind of see, man, this thing is kind of interesting. Maybe we should keep an eye on it. And that just adds up for, some insane moves that could happen. Now, the kind of tragic part about all of this is Bitcoin videos, at least on my channel, do not do too well. They don't perform really great. The average video, the view is somewhere in like the couple hundreds. If a video pops off, getting into the thousands, and we're trying to grow from that. And I would love to make videos more on Bitcoin stuff, and I still will, even though they won't get views. I still will if something crazy happens, just because I'm in that space and interested in it. But it's going to be moving away from that, so that's the tough part about this. Is investing the $5 a day into the S&P 500 would make a better video, but would it make better returns? Probably not. Is it smarter thing to try and do that? Who knows, right? But I do think that this is going to be a better move when you look out 5 years from now. Instead of putting the money into VOO and the S&P, putting into Bitcoin, it's just going to be better. I don't see a world where the S&P outperforms Bitcoin over the next decade. That I just don't see that being able to be a possibility. So that marks an end to the series. I guess you could call it series of putting $5 a day into the S&P. Again, I think that is something, if you're a beginner, if someone's just getting started investing and is worried about volatility and worried about losing money, right? That's like usually when people first get started, that's the thing everyone's worried about, is losing money, right? So I think that's the best way to get involved first. Is it's low volatility. You might lose some money, but you might lose $10-20 over a multi-month period of getting started, but you can handle that. It's a lot easier to handle than putting something in Bitcoin and seeing you're down hundreds of dollars in a couple of months, and then the panic sets in. It's a different sense there if you're not used to volatility and that's what you're worried about. So getting started, $5 a day, some sort of dollar amount a day into the S&P, VOO, stuff like this, I think can be a great way to get started. Maybe evolving into Bitcoin and learning about cold storage, holding your own keys, doing all of that stuff is obviously the next step. That's way more advanced than just simply buying an index fund. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, do me to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next